Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new market update. Today, we're going to speak about very important topics because it seems like the market is rotating. We're going to speak about semiconductors. We're going to speak again about the 13F filing from Leopold Aschenbrenner's portfolio and fund, especially his new position and largest position with over 30% of his portfolio. NBIS, we're going to speak about all the important fundamentals. We're going to speak about Bitcoin, NASDAQ, about new stocks that I'm investing into, and a general update since we haven't seen us since a very long time. Now, there's a very big opportunity. That's why you should watch this video until the end, because there is a big rotation happening, and that's from semiconductors out into Mag 7 and into hyperscalers. So we're going to speak about all that. Let's start with the fundamentals here on Walter Bloomberg's X account, and you can see Iran fired at least 2 missiles at commercial ships transitioning through the Strait of Hormuz. So it seems like when it comes to the biggest fundamental event that has been haunting us over the last couple of months is Iran and the US. There is no real progress in the surface. If you look a little bit deeper, yes, there is communication. They are speaking, they are meeting, but it seems like it's still a very hostile environment, which markets tend to ignore right now. Like, the markets don't care anymore, even though nothing has really gone better. Even if I check here on my second screen on Strait of Hormuz, it's closed, right? Since February 2028 it started, 2026, 129 days ago, and even the last couple of days there has been some, ships transiting through the Strait of Hormuz, but yeah, it's very, very low compared to the real output before the war, right? Oil, you can see that in oil has been coming down a lot. We'll speak about that too. So Strait of Hormuz, let's put that aside. No updates. Iran, US, yes, there is some, let's say talks, and there is some more, let's say, how can you say, it's a situationship at the end of the day, right? And the cool thing right now, especially when it comes to the market, of course it's not cool that we don't have any progress, but the market doesn't really care anymore. Markets have been going higher and higher and higher, but under the surface there's something happening, and that's what we need to speak about together. And that's especially speaking about semiconductors, right? So fundamentally, no big news. When it comes to Iran and US, this is the biggest one we need to speak about first, of course. Then what I was saying is semiconductors, right? I've been checking and looking at semiconductors very, very well. I've been someone that made a lot of money towards the upside on semiconductors, not the run over the last couple of months, but before the US-Iran war. I was heavily invested in semiconductors and I made some very, very good money. I took it out too early. I re-entered during the wartime, I remember very much, and I got stopped out multiple times, and then I missed it, right? Which is very unfortunate, but that is what it is, right? That is what trading and investing is about. But if you check here this graph, right? This is Exhibit 2, semis, analog with silver stocks appears to be in gear. This will help drive the broadening, right? So here you can see silver stocks ETF, okay, and you can see semis, okay, semiconductors in blue and silver stocks in yellow. And what you can see perfectly fine, how aligned they are running together. Here, silver stocks are leading by 4 months, and you can see we are starting to get into this crash territory just before silver, beginning of the year with the comics. Or CME accident, in the sense of increasing the margins and all of the scam that we spoke about. And then metal started to correct heavily, especially silver, gold followed, and so on, right? And if you put these graphs above each other, you can see the similarity, and that is crazy, right? So that is one thing that is very interesting when it comes to semiconductors. Of course, we will speak about volume, we'll look at the charts together, but that's one thing I want you guys to understand. So one of the most urgent things right now in the market, if you are an investor, is the rotation, most likely out of semiconductors. They have been insanely overbought into a different direction. We'll speak about that in a second, right? Now, Leopold Aschenbrenner's 13F portfolio, right? If you go on to Hedge Follow, I will put a link in the description. I like to look at this sometimes, and if the crazy thing is, if you go on Hedge Follow at the main page, right, and you go on top search hedge funds, right, you see Leopold Aschenbrenner's situational awareness, which we have been speaking a lot about. A lot of my portfolio follows his investment theory. I've read his manifesto over the last 2 months. I haven't finished it yet, but he came out with a thesis about AI, AGI, general intelligence, and so on. and what he's investing in. And of course, he made himself a very big name just because he has been in the AI space himself, working for ChatGPT in the past. And now he's leading the 3-year performance here with 231%, with 3.9 billion US under management, right? He has 26 holdings, and then if we click on his, on his page basically and see his positions, it's insane, right? And one position we definitely need to speak about, which is NBIS, right? Is one of a newer position. He has 38.89%, so close to 40% of his whole portfolio in one stock, and that is insane. We need to research and find out why and look at this chart. You can see NBIS, B, SanDisk, CoreWave, Irene, Course, Applied, Shaz, Riot, CLSK, and so on. So you can see he is very long these stocks. These are the same stocks we are following. I myself, I am in CoreWave, I'm in Irene, I'm in Course, Applied, Riot, CLSK, and so on, right? So we are following a lot of these because it just makes a lot of sense. And then if you go into options holdings, you can see how very much short, and that now put it together with what we just saw in the first graph, semiconductors, with what I was saying with semiconductors in general. You can see here he is massively short semiconductors, right? You can see he's short SMH, Van Eck ETF Trust, right? He's short Nvidia, he's short Oracle, AVGO, he's very short AMD, MU, TSM, right? ASML. So these are all puts, Intel Core puts, right? Then he has some hedges, but let me read them out for you. So first of all, what he's really short only, right? I ran it through my AI just to, filter out which are hedges, which ones are shorts, which ones are longs. So let me just read that out and listen to that. So he's only short. So he is only bearish, only puts, only selling SMH, Nvidia, Oracle, AVGO, AMD, MU, TSM, ASML, Intel, GLV, and ENFY, right? So semiconductors short. What is he calling? Calls only, so long only. It is SanDisk, CoreWave B, and EQT, right? What is he hedging? He is hedging MU, Micron, TSM, and Intel, which are all still put heavy, right? So they are more focused on selling than buying, so he has more puts than sells. You can see it here. For example, if you look at MU, he is 1.7 million shares short MU, which is 584 million, and then you can see here is MU long 1.3 million, which is 422 million. So 422 million compared to 584. Of course, there's more shorts than puts, but this is a hedge, right? But he is short semiconductors. So second confirmation for that. First the graph, second here Leopold Aschenbrenner's portfolio. And now if we go into volume, right, you can see it, and we will go into the charts in 1 second. I just want you to understand the current thesis, the current, understanding of the market and what we are doing. Then if you go into SMH, we are here on Chatter Flow, which is a paid tool where you can see option flow, right? If I put SMH, which is Van Eck Semiconductors, and I put the 29th of June until today, you can see we are 50 million short put flow and we have 25 million long flow, right? If I go into MU, for example, which is also mainly short, you can see there's a little bit more bullish volume. We have 233 million bullish volume and 133 million short volume. But there is definitely a big interest in shorting semiconductors right now. And you can see some of these names are having more shorts than longs. Let's go into flow overview. And let's research yesterday and today and see what people are buying and selling. You can see bullish flow since yesterday. MU had a lot of bullish flow. SanDisk very, very bearish. And then you can see some of these other names. Let's switch into the 29th, which is basically 1.5 weeks. So the full trading week last week and then today. So you can see MU has getting some bullish flow. Even though chart tells completely different stories, we'll speak about that in a second. You can see Tesla, Intel, SpaceX, Marvel, AVGO, Amazon, SanDisk, MSTR, and then you see number one on bearish flow is Nvidia, B, AMD, Applied, Meta, Microsoft, Google, Oracle. Biggest, most active volume is in MU, so there's a big fight in MU right now, and you will see that in the chart in 1 second if we go over it, okay? So let's get into the charts together. First of all, we look at Dixie. Dixie is still trading above 100, currently sitting at 100.93, coming lower, which is pretty good. So far, we saw a very good market open yesterday, overall very green. And you can see that, we are in this bearish sequence, which is confirmed. We respected the bearish selling area here, and from there we started to plunge, right? So I believe we are right now more in a bearish sequence and more bearish market, at least for the next couple of days until any news happen or whatsoever on Dixie, okay? Which is pretty good for the market, so we need to understand that. But considering that we are above 100, as you guys know, I always have this big black line over here. This is above 100. As long as we stay above 100, it's still more bearish for the market, right? So I want to see what Dixie does. Can we close below 100, which would be very, interesting for the stock market? Do we stay above? Then it's of course not so interesting, right? Another thing we need to speak about that I actually forgot about is gold, right? Gold has been doing some insane moves, and the reason is that smart money isn't celebrating, and why it matters is because at the end of the day, central banks are rarely moving billions of dollars because of few weeks of price action. The decisions are usually based on much longer term risk. That makes continued gold accumulation difficult to ignore. So gold is getting accumulated by central banks. Here you can see investors have been focusing on equities, AI, and crypto, yet central banks have quietly continued doing something very different, accumulating gold at a very fast pace, right? So gold is being accumulated by central banks, which is very, very interesting. The reason why gold dropped so heavy low, if we go together into the gold market and we see all of this whole drop here in gold, the reason for that is of course mainly the war. Some countries had to sell gold, especially Turkey, to fund and help with the difficulties in buying oil and so on. But central banks keep buying. We are seeing a good upside now in gold currently, correcting a little bit. I'm in a 15-minute time frame, so a little bit smaller time frame. But the interesting thing about gold right now is that paper gold has been trading heavily and has been the main reason for this to correct so heavy, right? And there is the Shanghai exchange that basically now said there is no leverage anymore on gold, right? We're gonna detach from the London exchange. We're gonna attach from the CME, from COMEX. And we're gonna do our own gold market, right? Which is very, very bullish for gold, right? Let me see if I find something about that here. But it's very, very interesting what is happening, and you can do your own due diligence and look more into that. What happened over the weekend with gold and China, and especially the Chinese, or Shanghai exchange in general. But basically, yeah, what they're doing is they are not allowing to leverage and sell gold anymore, and they're going to detach themselves from the international market, because China is one of the country, and the East is definitely winning on accumulating gold, whether the West is more winning on accumulating crypto and Bitcoin and so on, right? So there's definitely a war happening over there, but that's not so important right now. So let's focus on the markets together. Again, Dixie is more in a bearish sequence, which is pretty good for the market. SPY, which is S&P 500, has been seeing some upside. This is not a trade. I was considering taking a trade, but it's very difficult for me right now to bet against the S&P 500 since we are seeing a lot of very good volume. Let's check here together SPY and how the volume is going, 29th, and then let's put in SPY. CCC, we have a little bit more bearish volume, about 100 million more, 379 million put flow, 264 million bullish flow. Let's do from the whole June until today. You can see we have 2.4 billion short, 1.6 billion call flow. So there is more bearish volume, and you have seen that over here, right? You can see how it started to dip. But what I don't like about a bearish setup, especially if we are here in the H4, is this insane wick, this insane bullish wick over here, right? So I don't like to enter sells somewhere over here if we before had such a big sell absorption, insane sell absorption, right? It seems like we're just gonna push higher in the S&P. So it's for me very difficult right now to do anything in the S&P. So I'm just leaving it, and I wouldn't bet long, I wouldn't bet short as long as we don't have any breakout, but there is definitely something coming towards the up or downside. For me, it looks more like towards the downside, but let's see. Again, I'm not touching that. Gold, we just spoke about. I just want to go over it one more time. More on an intraday basis, gold has been in a bullish sequence since 2 weeks now, and it's holding up pretty well. You can see we finished a bullish sequence over here, see target. We're starting to correct a little bit. I was looking at the entry yesterday around this zone, but since it was not confirmed, I didn't enter, but would have been a good trade over here. I didn't. I took NQ, which I'm currently in a sell, as you can see over here, and this sell is currently in profit, right? So I'm betting on NQ sell right now, intraday wise, or more like swing trade wise. Gold again is reacting bearish. I would sell gold until the 4,072 level if we get a re-entry, and I think from here we're going to continue bullish, because fundamentally gold is changing now, and the Strait of Hormuz issue, Iran, US, is becoming less interesting for people. People are kind of like ignoring it. It's not new news. That's what it is. Market accepted it, and from there on, I think we're going to be more bullish again on gold, right? But we need to see. So there's an opportunity to buy gold soon over here at the 4,000 level, I would say. Then again, NASDAQ, I'm selling towards the 29 area, 28,900 area. If we get re-entries over here, you could consider them. It looks pretty bearish to me here in NQ, right? But we'll need to see. Then, of course, if we speak about BTC, BTC has been having very mixed price action. We have been going up over the last couple of weeks, and we have now reached a re-entry into the sell area, right? And you can see we are reacting at the sell area, but still with a very strong bullish upside. This is also not a trade. I was considering taking a trade over here, but since we respected the VWAP so perfectly, and we got a lot of bullish volume and a new high, I'm not considering taking a sell over here right now. So I can basically delete this or just keep it, doesn't really matter. But I will look and monitor Bitcoin closely. If we break above 64 and continue, then of course there could be strong continuation in BTC towards the upside. If we respect this level and we break below the 61,000, right, I think it's going to be pretty interesting for a sell. I'm currently in a sell in BTC. You can see IBKR put. I have a put option, a small one open, just because I truly believe that Bitcoin historically follows its 7 to 80% correction, and we are still 20-30% away from that, right? So my targets for BTC are still somewhere here at the 50,000 level. It doesn't mean it has to, right? If market sentiment just shifts now, then that's what it is. But technically, that's still the level that I'm looking at. And before that, I'm not going to turn majorly bullish. If we don't invalidate this whole bearish sequence, right, then I'm going to be more bullish again. But since we are still reacting in this bearish sequence over here, I'm more prone to, at the end of the day, be in sells, but right now not, just because of this recent price action. As I've explained, we have a respect of the VWAP over here, which is the value low, and we're just going higher from there, made a new high in a sell area. I don't like to see that, right? Let's speak about SMH and more about the investing long-term stuff. Now, I spoke a lot about semiconductors, and that's exactly what I want to focus on right now, which is this short on SMH. You can see we have been printing a CVD bear divergence, which basically means price is going higher, but there's more selling going on than buying, right? And I mean, we just saw that. If we put SMH together here and we search SMH for 1 month and a couple of days, you can see we are more bearish than bullish. And then if you go into the last 1 week and 2 days, you can see we are double bearish than bullish on SMH. So there's a lot of shorts coming in, and as you can see, this is my position currently. And my entry, I have a pretty big put on this position, right? It's my biggest put on my whole portfolio right now, which is 1x Semiconductors short, right? Especially if you go into smaller time frames, what I love to see is a CVD bear divergence after CVD bear divergence. So 2, right? And prices still keep pushing higher, but it is really much exhausting, right? You can see how exhausting it is compared to this uptrend, right? There's just up, constantly just up, and you can see how price is starting to exhaust over here. The highs don't become, or the highs are not really higher anymore, right? So if you take, for example, price action wise, and you just look at this high, right, and you look at this high, there is much difficulty, right? Even the recent high, when it started to push higher, closed below. So this for me is pretty bearish price action. It is risky, but of course that's what the market is, right? So I'm short SMH 1x Semiconductors because I truly believe we are getting out of semiconductors and transitioning into more the infrastructure of AI, names like cores and so on. riot, and we will speak about that in a second. Then also my second position is a long on SOX. Now don't get confused. SOXS is leverage shares forex short semiconductors, right? So I'm shorting semiconductors in a 4x leverage position, which of course is insanely risky. You can see my entry over here. Yesterday we plunged into drawdown a little bit. Now we opened with a massive gap towards the upside, and we jumped into 17% profit right away here. And I'm doing that on Trading 212. On Trading 212, and of course also on IBKR, you can buy an ETP, which is 4x short semiconductors. So whatever semiconductors returns, right, it's going to be a 4x short or 4x of that, right? So if semiconductor corrects 1%, x4, it's going to be 4%. So it's highly leveraged and very risky. But again, I'm following this thesis. I'm very convicted in shorting semiconductors. That's why I'm short SMH, and I am long SOXS, which is basically short, right? And then also another stock that we have been, trading for the past 2 weeks is STTK. Shattuck Labs is a very small stock, more like a blue chip. More like a, I think, do you call it blue chip, right? Am I confused right now? Blue chip was small stock or a big stock? Whatever, I am confused right now what it was. But it's a very small stock at the end of the day. I don't remember if you say blue chip or not. But it's a very small stock, and I've been making good money with it. At the end of the day, as you can see, I entered back in the times over here, and I sold over here, which is 130%. I came across this stock because I was basically just tracking insider trades, and there was a lot of buys coming in insider-wise from the corporate buying their own stock. And since we entered, we're up 50% yesterday, today 46%, right? So I have a call option here over 150% in profit, which is amazing. I love this price action. Main reason bullish, why I went bullish, is because of this sell absorption over here. You can see on the weekly, this wick over here, big absorption in the traditional barrier, which is the 50% correction level for me here. This is my bullish level, and we are seeing a clear respect, no close below, and we are seeing insane absorption. This is the weekly, not the daily. So the sells got absorbed a couple of times over here and over here. So massive bullish interest. And then you can of course see that in the reaction a week later, we are up 50%. Okay. Now let's speak about NBIS, right? NBIS, if you remind yourself, we go into situational awareness, Leopold Aschenbrenner's F13 portfolio. NBIS, 40% of, or close to 40% of his whole portfolio, his biggest stock holding, right? He has 2.5 billion in this stock, 12.4 million shares, 40% of his portfolio, one of his newest positions. And I'm looking at NBIS for a long, right? Of course. I'm just waiting because we are starting to correct. We have multiple CVD bear divergences over here, so I think the price is pretty much overheated. But I'm looking at entries here at the 0.38 FIB level, which is at 192, which I'm gonna enter first with a smaller position. And then I love the bullish correction level here. At the 50% correction level, Fibonacci is 159 per stock, right? So I'm definitely monitoring this one to get into. I'm not looking at any entries right now, especially if you, for example, use the volume profile. Let's pick the low. If you pick the low, okay, there we are pretty low over here. There is a lot of potential to correct. Let me see. There's a little mistake in my chart for what I see, which is basically I started the sequence over here. Actually need to start it over here and adjust this a little bit. So perfect, now we are fine. Okay, so this is the whole move of this whole sequence, of this whole upwards move. And these are the entries that I'm looking at here for NBIS. Definitely want to follow that, considering that 40% of his portfolio is focused on there, right? Then what are some other stocks I'm looking at in terms of transitioning from semiconductors into NBIS, into cores, right? CORC, Core Scientific, right? All AI stocks also dropped heavily, right? Also looking here for the 50%. We are now at the 0.38. So need to see how it reacts over here. It's starting to react bullish over here. So course, I'm very interested in. Applied, I'm very interested in. Applied Digital also corrected heavily. So I'm looking at entries over here. Also, we are at the 0.382 fib level. BE Bloom, we had a position in there, missed the whole up move, unfortunately. But I'm also looking at some re-entries over here. I just don't like this chop and don't want to enter over here. I would like to see some reaction towards the downside and then re-entering. Same thing for SanDisk. He's heavily, Leopold Eschenbrenner is heavily long on SanDisk. But for me, it's too overbought. I'm not interested in buying at these levels. I'm waiting for a correction. And I'm also going to set an alarm here at the 50%. If we get it, we get it. If not, not. But I'm definitely looking at NBIS for position entries, Course, Applied, B, and SanDisk. Okay. Now, regarding any other positions that we have, like for example Irene, right, they also corrected pretty heavily, which is okay because these are long-term holdings for the next 2 to 5 years. But Irene, Galaxy, CoreWave, CRCL, CEG, Coin, CLSK, and we have Riot, right? Riot, same thing, have been seeing a little bit of a correction, but that's completely fine. These are long-term holdings, but so far portfolio is doing pretty okay. We are still a little bit underwater with all of these corrections and how market has been, reacting in general. What is doing pretty well is where is it? Is TACK, right? Gold miners are doing very well, and especially now if gold comes up again, TACK is still one of my largest positions after SMH now and the semiconductor sales. But TACK holding up very well, doing pretty well. We are still in profit. We have a call option, so we're still 100% plus in profit. 26 on spot. Highest point was 46%. So TACK, something I would always have in my portfolio. Reacting bullish here at the very low 50% correction level. We have a bullish CVD, massively bullish reaction. So I'm very happy about that, right? So THCK remains one of my biggest convictions in the portfolio, and I'm most likely going to accumulate more, and I just did, right? You can see here this yellow line. I just bought a little bit more last 2 days because I love this bullish reaction over here. And from here, I think with gold coming up again, we are seeing a lot of potential to go higher here on TACK2, right? So TACK, high conviction from my side. Let me see if we can find actually anything here on the volume ticker for TACK or in the volume profile. Yeah, no, not really, right? There's just one position. So TACK, a very interesting. Clean Spark also doing pretty well. After its correction, it's now reacting bullish at the value high, and we are in a re-entry. So if you want to consider following Leopold Eschenbrenner's thesis, which I very much follow and I very much agree with, CLSK is in an entry, CoreWave is an entry, Galaxy is in an entry, even though Galaxy is from Jane Street, but also like a minor company switching into AI. Irene is in an entry, right? And you're getting better entries than me, and I said it before, right, in the last update. Unity, long Unity Software, right? And then again, also SOX, there's still, in my opinion, a good entry for that. And the same thing goes for SMH. Now, another thing I want to look at is MU. And SK Hynix, for example. SK Hynix also has been, correcting lower. So pretty interesting over here if you want to look at a short. Then we have Kospi, which is basically the South Korean, also in a bearish sequence, so also going down. MU, right? MU, we spoke about a lot. MU, insane. You can see two bearish divergences from the last high. Same thing over here. The new highs are very close to each other, and we are breaking this last low over here, as you can see. So if we stay below that could be very interesting also here in a sell. Since I'm already massively sell and short semiconductors, I'm not going to add this position, but for you, if you're looking at a short MU, in my opinion, is very, very interesting to short. What else do we have? Long. I'm very interested in Tencent Holdings long. Very, very, very much. We have a lot of bullish divergences over here. It's also switching into AI, massive Chinese company in the gaming space and in the AI space. So I'm pretty interested in doing a short over here. And besides that, guys, these are the most interesting ones. So to sum it up, I'm long bullish on gold, especially on TACK, miners on gold. Bitcoin is still short for me until it's invalidated. NQ short for me until it's invalidated. Long semiconductors, short semiconductors, short semiconductors. We have multiple confirmations for that, and price action is following that. So I'm going to hold this position. Of course, SPY, S&P, I'm still, hesitant. yeah, I don't know. It's S&P is pretty interesting because now money is rotating from semiconductors that have been keeping the SPY up, or the S&P, into the Mag 7, for example. So Mag 7, like Google, Amazon, PayPal, Google, Amazon, Apple, and so on, have been doing pretty well if you look at them. So I think that's gonna switch over, and the S&P is still gonna be mainly bullish, right? But there is gonna be a move happening. I'm pretty sure about that. More towards the downside, in my opinion, than in the upside. But until there is no good confirmation, and again, especially this whole bearish buy up again, like this bullish buy up again, all of the absorption of this bearishness over here is something that makes me a little bit more bullish, and I'm not looking for an entry right now, even though I was. But I think there's clearer thesis to short, like semiconductors and so on. So with that being said, guys, I will put all the important links below. Make sure to follow my trading Instagram account. I do daily updates over there. The stock STTK that is up 50%, I called it there on my trading Instagram account completely for free. You can check that out. And then also below there is a free Telegram channel. This is my trading channel. Here I send all in my trades. I update with all of my value. So if you're interested in that, you can check it out. And then there's also all of the positions that I just recently posted of this 13F filing from situational awareness. So all of the puts, all of the longs, and so all of the calls and all of the puts and everything is also in that value channel. So you can clearly see what is he short, what is he long, what is he hedging. But all of that is over there. Yeah. With that being said, guys, see you in the next one. Wish you all the best, and trade safe.